Good evening. Welcome back to That Toy Life Star Wars edition, where we are going to continue reviewing Ahsoka. And joining me tonight, as usual, the old guard himself, Ashley Wilbanks. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ashley?
Hello.
And also joining him is another old guard named Austin Warder. Would you like to introduce him? Oh no, he's gone. He's replaced by Bean.
He's gone. He's Mr. Bean.
And of course, I'm Ray Snedeker. I'm nobody, but I'm here anyways. So let's just see how this goes.
Jeez. Y'all's funny. Y'all are
So-
very funny.
Because we didn't get to review last week
My bad.
because
I'm
of
sorry.
unforeseen circumstances, which was
My
one of the
bad.
biggest episodes I think of the entire series thus far.
Yes, it was.
So I guess we'll start there. We'll run through 5 real quick, our thoughts and storyline and all that, and then we'll hop over to 6 and then go into that. 2 big episodes, a
Yep.
lot to cover.
Yep.
6.
I'll say, just starting off, this is some of the best Star Wars that Disney's put out so far.
Yeah, and I
With
would
these
I
two
would,
episodes.
I would say
It's
that with
Rebels.
Yeah,
Us-
since Rebels.
I would say that with the caveat of like, because you'll always get the people that are going to come in and say, "Oh no, Andor is the only good thing," and I will say Andor has been fantastic in its own way of a different type of Star Wars. But in terms of the very operatic storytelling of classic Star Wars with the original trilogy, George Lucas style, I would say this has been some of the best. This has been something I felt like the sequels probably strived to achieve, and they always kind of came up a little short on.
Mhm.
But I felt like it was what they want, or people that were working on them were hoping they would be, something along these lines of like achieving a sense of great arcs and spectacle at the same time, great emotional payoffs. But it came up short a lot with that trilogy. But let's not dwell on that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on to episode 5 of Ahsoka, not Star Wars saga.
Not Empire Strikes Back.
Not Empire Strikes Back. But this is called Shadow Warriors, which is an interesting because shadow ghosts type stuff, because it all dealt with most of it dealt with the inner issues and trauma of Ahsoka herself, because we find out she didn't go, at least in the way Ezra went, she didn't go into the world between worlds. I think she was pulled into it by Ezra. It's almost like she was in a state of limbo between life and death, because of she was in the water the whole time in reality.
Yeah.
But within herself, she was in that netherworld. And who did we see other than Anakin Skywalker return? And he had a lesson to teach her. And what was that lesson? Does anybody want to talk about it? Anyone want to talk about seeing Hayden again?
I will say I've only gotten to see this episode once. I usually try. So far this season, I've given every episode at least twice through, but this time I actually marathoned them through again with my mom. So we watched all 5, and with this one in particular, I felt the theme, I would say, is coping with loss, but also at the same time I felt like what he was trying to teach her was to live. Like basically it's kind of like it was sort of like putting your foot, at least that was how I get it. And I know that was one thing I liked, is that you could probably pull a lot of meanings from it, but from what I got, it was more of along the lines of just him wanting to say, you just have to live. You just have to put a foot in front of the other and go, and just be strong. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, it was like all this stuff around her that was affecting Ahsoka. I don't want to jump ahead and go all over the place, but I just felt like the lesson that he was pushing throughout the whole episode, it felt like to me was about going on, which obviously we thought Ahsoka dies at the end of the previous episode, or we didn't, we weren't sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like this was like a way, not just saying Anakin's trying to say this is how you're going to rise from the dead, but it was just a way of surviving, I guess, or keep going, which he's already done. And I feel like he kind of already passed that lesson on to her, but at the same time, I felt like this was sort of a reiteration for people that really haven't followed the Clone Wars or the Rebels cartoons. But that was just that was kind of what the lesson was I got out of it was for her to kind of survive and keep going and push through any even though you may feel like the obstacle's too much, just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I got more of a Phoenix rising from the ashes, a rebirth type lesson. Like Anakin was kind of teaching her how to close out this not chapter, I guess, sort of like a chapter of her life, and say it's time to become something new, something better than what I was,
Right.
and to me, that's, you see it at the end of the episode when she becomes Ahsoka the White.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I could see that because she is locked in that for so long in that warrior survival mentality where it's like she's just, she's in the Clone Wars and she's having a fight for her life, and then she's a rebel and fighting for her life and the lives of the galaxy and stuff like that. I mean, she's fighting for the galaxy regardless, but it just always feels like, I bet she's probably had this burden of fight. I guess it's maybe a different kind of fight then that he's trying to teach her, is it not just to be a warrior, but to be something more.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to also, was because they have their first little skirmish in the on the little the little World Between Worlds walkway, which is fun to watch. That was really cool to watch them fight each other. Also the little callback to Luke from Return of the Jedi when she said, "I will not fight you," and he said, "I've heard that before."
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So
I was going to say the funniest thing I saw out of this, I'll just throw in real quick, was somebody sent me a TikTok it was something. It was basically, it was a joke video using The Office, and it's Michael Scott pulling up in the car blasting Lady Gaga's Just Dance, and he's like, "I'm Brittany, it's Brittany, bitch." And that's my Anakin showing up in the new episode of Star Wars. And I'm like, I've seen so many Office references for some of the best non-Office pop culture events ever, and everything fits. That show fits.
But after that fight ends, he does the little sneaky thing. He basically just whips the ground up from under her and throws in a really cool flashback. It was a really cool transition. The fog of war kind of engulfs the screen, and Ahsoka gets up, and we see that she's not the exact same shape. She's a little bit smaller, and then we actually do see when the screen clears enough for us to see her, we see young Ahsoka, which is great because I mentioned this also. I don't know if you caught it, Ashley, but the actress that they got to play young Ahsoka, her name is Ariana Greenblatt, and she played young Gamora in Avengers: Infinity War, which was a really cool little casting tidbit, because now she's played like a young version of both Zoe Saldana and now Rosario Dawson in two big Disney IPs, I guess you could say. I mean, they are overall owned by Disney, but two big blockbuster kind of franchises. She's played
she was also in something else. Played a younger version of somebody else. I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was like a big pop
it was in Marvel.
thing.
Well, I was going to say, I felt like because we're going through the Marvel movies, and not just Gamora, but I felt like she played a young version of somebody else. But yeah, no, she
played a young Paul Rudd.
She's basically an up and coming actress for sure. She's getting hot. You know what I'm saying? She's blowing up.
She is.
Yeah, and she did great. Her time, she had two big scenes, or almost three, because she had the big introduction scene where she realized where she was, and we see her and I guess what they've settled as her official main Clone Wars outfit, which wasn't, I kind of like that they kind of gotten rid of the tube top look that they originally had her in, and got her something that looks much more sensible for what's going on with a war going on around her. But so that we got through that, and then we got through, we saw her in the aftermath of it, and also we see Hayden Christensen wearing the the Matt Lanter Clone Wars Anakin outfit, which was really cool to see. You know, with
that was
with the
I had a
Vader
big.
Yeah, it took me a long time actually with the Clone Wars to realize that the little armor that he had over his shoulders is supposed to be a nod to like a precursor to his Vader uniform.
Yeah,
It took me years to like put that connection together, but
no, it's a real cool nod,
yeah.
but I just had a big smile on my face the whole time when
Oh, yeah.
they revealed that, and you see all that going on, like just the Clone Wars, like basically just the animated series blown to life, and
Yeah.
and Anakin just fits perfectly, or Hayden fits perfectly in there.
And I think that also kind of brings up like part of what I saw as a theme for what Ahsoka was going through was seeing this very young form of her, and it's not animated. We're actually seeing, it really now looks like a child soldier, in a horrifying, kind of heart-wrenching, heartbreaking way. And Anakin even brings it up to her in the aftermath of that battle when she's talking to or after she's kind of grieving that clone that dies, Anakin brings up to her that, when I was being trained, we were being trained as peacekeepers. We were not trained to be warriors. Mace Windu even said that in episode 2. We're keepers of the peace, not warriors. But she was basically having to be forged in fire, forged in battle, and that's not what they were supposed to be. And I think that's kind of a sad, heartbreaking thing. And I think that's part of why she's so stoic and reserved up until this point in the series, is that I think she still hasn't been able to process all that happened to her back then. So we get through that, and then we jump forward to her at what looks like because it is season 7, because it's the Siege of Mandalore. Is that correct? We see her kind of dealing with that, and she's got the cool blue outfit that she has, and she's wielding the 2 blue sabers.
Yep.
And her and Anakin kind of go through it again. They talk a little bit more about legacy, and it leads into him, basically telling her, you're still not getting it. And he comes at her again, and now he lets the Vader side of him out. And I love that, because we kind of see, at least in my interpretation of it, we see what Anakin has become in terms of this. He almost like a cosmic netherworld being, is that he encapsulates all of himself. It's not like he just. I like that it's not checks and balances of like, Anakin got to be a good Force ghost because he decided to be a good guy. It's the Force isn't just about good and bad. It's it's all living things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when she kind of hints at what he did and what he became, he just kind of says, you're still hung up on that. And basically saying like, I've accepted, I've moved past what I've done. I can't, I know that I can't change what I did. I've moved on from this. You need to do the same for yourself. And I love that. And I love that it almost felt like when he was full Vader mode and attacking her, to the point where, the fight was over and she does her moment where she chooses not to be what she was afraid of being. She's afraid of becoming something like him that's going to strike down in anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost seems like it. I've spoken with people that interpret it as like it's just him, being, it's just Anakin. But for me, it almost felt like he kind of has to work a little bit. Like even in this ethereal form, he has to work a little bit to push that side away, because the dark side is still it's something that can still always tempt at.
I don't know if I go along with that, just because he's dead. He's one with the Force.
But that's part of the Force, is that dark side. That's why
It is, but I would think that like when you become one with the Force, you have full control over the Force. I mean, obviously, he's showing himself. He's coming back as a Force ghost, even if it's in dreamland.
Yeah,
he's still creating that for her.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's showing. To me, it's more like he's showing. Like, okay, you're not going to believe me like this. Well, let me show you like this.
Well, what I meant,
that will trigger something.
Oh yeah. What I meant was like he can bring it out when he wants, but what I meant was when it was over at the end.
Yeah.
If you notice how his acting was, it was like he kind of had to step back and away from. You kind of had to. You see like this gradual shift in him again from that from that dark look, and then all of a sudden you see old Anakin kind of come back through.
Yeah,
that's what I was kind of seeing. I mean, that's what I meant when I was saying.
I got you. Okay.
It's almost like he has to kind of work it back, shift it back.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved that it wasn't like, it's not like he's some angelic presence. He understands and accepts what he was and what he is. It's almost, I really thought that he, it almost kind of makes him, it kind of refers to that old Jedi stuff, the old lore that Lucas established was, more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
and
interesting.
he is. Yeah. To me, he is.
And then we get to the next part, her waking up. Or, actually, we can backtrack real quick because while all that was going on, we had the search going on real quick with Hera, and we see a little bit of Jason with his Force abilities, which was really cool. That whole sequence where he was trying to get her attention, and she at first wasn't listening, and then she kind of understood, oh, this is that kind of thing where I really need to go see what he's talking about.
I do love that she took it seriously. And she was just like, okay,
And I love that when she kind of focused and listened, she almost the way it was presented on screen was that she was also starting to hear it when she focused.
To hear the lightsabers.
She heard the lightsabers in the waves, which was a really cool little thing to see.
It is, but to me, it's almost skirt, and I don't know if Filoni is purposely trying to do this, which kind of sounds like it, but it's kind of skirting this thing where along back when the original trilogy was coming out, you had A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. There was kind of this belief that anybody could be a Jedi. You just had to have the training to be a Jedi. Force, there was no midichlorian count, none of that, because Lucas hadn't created it yet. So, people kind of thought Luke was just this kid who is, undergone some training, and now he's Jedi Luke, with powers. And it's almost to me like Filoni's going back and saying, let's play with this concept a little bit, like with Sabine, who has no force. She can't move a cup off a table, or can't even make it like jiggle. And we've seen this, even in episode 6, where she tries to do something and nothing happens, but she's still considered a Jedi because there's some things that recognize her as a Jedi in that episode. So I'm wondering if he's kind of playing with that concept of, you just got to have the training.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a tease, almost like it could or couldn't be. Yeah. Because at the same time, we haven't seen yet her full potential. Because she could all of a sudden just start blasting people.
Yeah.
She taps into it in some way, but yeah, I feel like with the whole like Jason hearing the lightsabers sort of thing, and going back to Hera and her hearing it is more of I saw it as her wanting to hear it, almost like maybe she didn't hear it but wanted to hear it. But there's also, when you look at when Kanan passed, when he passed into the Force, it was almost like there was a lingering connection to her through Kanan to her. So maybe there's like a sort of, she has like this.
Maybe she can sense what Jason can sense.
Right. She's got
through
this
him.
Force connection. Yeah. Through her child. It's like when he can really sense and hone in on something, if she can stop and think, if she can stop and focus, she has that link with him at least. So I don't know. I just feel like that could be a possibility too. See, that's one thing though, is I like how it's a little vague where it could be all these things, and maybe that's the whole point, is to get the fans to talk about it and think what they think it is, and their theories.
I do like that Filoni's. It seems like he's trying to set a new thing where it's not so much about finding these rule sets and following them. It's more about it's more about the characters themselves and this journey that they're on, instead of just how many midichlorians do they have in their bloodstream, and is that going to matter for this story? But and I do love that. What's his name? Carson Teva, the little chat that he has with Huang about Jason.
Mm.
The most underwhelming response. I know people laughed at it because he mentions his father Kanan Jarrus was a Jedi, so he has Force abilities. Carson's like, okay,
Yeah.
and then he walks away. But I also kind of took his like Jedi. Well, okay, just go with it. When it's Jedi, you just go with it.
Yeah. I'm going back to the X-wing.
Yeah, just roll.
Yep.
But and then
overall, I was going to say, yeah, though, overall, I think once you all of that playing together, like the search for Ahsoka, and then that journey that you see Ahsoka on, and then like you said, you flash forward to her waking up, we do get to see a change, I think, in her.
Oh yeah, it's almost like and also one really cool thing that I saw, and it floored me a little bit because it's something I kind of noticed throughout the live action Star Wars stuff, especially when it comes to aliens like Tagrutans and Twi'leks, where there's a big head prosthesis. There's a little bit of a cheat that they always do. I've noticed is you'll put some kind of headpiece like around, like they'll have some kind of head crest piece, like a piece of jewelry. So like Ahsoka's always had headpiece jewelry, or Hera's case, she's always got the she's always got her
goggles or whatever.
She's got like a little pilot hat that actually fits over her ears and onto her head, or I mean over her LeQ and not over her head, to kind of hide the separation of, so you don't have to work into all that blending and stuff that's involved with the prosthetics and the skin itself. So I was really impressed with when Rosario wakes up on the bed, it's gone. It's just the skin and the Montrails connected. And I loved that. I was like,
yeah,
they did it. They showed it. I'm glad they didn't try to hide it here.
There was a little bit of a jump for me, though. When I saw it, it almost gave me the vibes of, if you've seen the new Mario Brothers movie, when you see them without their gloves, you're like, whoa, wait, okay, all right, makes sense. There we go. We're applying logic. but at the same time, it's a little unsettling at first because, I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow. It's almost like seeing her naked. You're put something on. But no, it was pretty cool that you finally got to see that.
Yeah. And you even see, like, because she's always got her headpiece always, like, comes around here, and it's got like a little circle thing that kind of goes over where I think Rosario's ears would be at, to kind of cover those. So that's even like, showing them prosthetic over, and that I was just really impressed. And it's a little thing, it's, if someone doesn't notice it,
this brought up a cool thing because at work I'm the Star Wars guy, right? So people ask questions about Star Wars to me because, let's go to the Star Wars guy, especially when you're watching shows like Ahsoka. And they were talking about Twi'leks and how they don't have ears. So I had to go back and look, and it's
a mix.
Male Twi'leks have ears.
Yeah. And
females have little cone things.
Yeah, they have cones.
Most of them they're covered up.
Yeah, like Hera. Hera's all, most of the time. I think only in live action, so far with Mary Elizabeth, we've only seen them covered up so far. But I think Hera's. I think they can be both under weird circumstances for female Twi'leks, and I think if there's a human parent involved, I think they can become ears.
Oh, okay.
I think it can go either way. It seems like the ear stuff's kind of weird with the Twi'lek stuff. Like it can be one or the other. Yeah, the artist's discretion.
It's like they were like, how do they hear? They have earmuffs on. It's like, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. The Star Wars guy at work can't answer that one.
Yeah. But yeah, like what you're saying though about Ahsoka is that there is a big change in her demeanor when she awakens. Like she doesn't seem as reserved. She seems calmer. Like, a lot of praise to Rosario because she kind of really did a good job of like nuanced acting, kind of just enough where we kind of really noticed that she's not acting the same as she did before. She's acting differently, where it's not something that's outright just said, like she just wakes up and says, Hoang, I feel better. I feel so much better than I did before. She just I feel like a weight has been lifted. But we have a couple little plot moments real quick of them figuring out what happened with Sabine. She finds the half of the star map globe and analyzes it with her psychometry.
Mm-hmm.
And she hears what happened. She hears her deal with Balin, and they figure out what happened, which is that she left with them. And
so here's a question though I have. So the first time we saw like that psychometry power was Jedi
Quinlan
had
Voss.
that.
Oh, it was Quinlan?
Quinlan had it, and Cal has it.
Yeah, Cal Kestis has it.
But even through the Clone Wars, all the Rebels, I don't think I've ever seen Ahsoka do that.
It's one of those things I put up. I chalk it up to, anything is possible with the Force. It's just if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, if you learn it. There's something you have to feel for in the Force. To feel those echoes of the past.
I guess. I guess. And I guess certain Jedi are more attuned to certain powers than others, but doesn't necessarily mean they can't do. Yeah, okay, I get you.
Well, I would say, that's even something that Ahsoka did kind of establish earlier was, natural aptitude is a factor, So there are people that are going to be naturally, adept at one thing and, probably less so at others, might have to work at it harder. Like we discussed earlier with the expanded universe, lore, the old Legends lore with Coran Horn, and I think the opposite of him was the other guy, Kip Duran, which is would you say he's kind of like the polar opposite, Austin, where he's good with force powers, but he's not good with say lightsaber fighting? Is that for some reason when I read one of the books, I kind of wanted to take it like that in my head, which was. Corin Horn, he knows how to handle stuff like, nitty gritty, but he's not very good with the Force himself. And I thought,
oh yeah, I was going to say, he couldn't move things with the Force or anything. It was pure skill, like with the lightsaber and stuff like that.
But I felt I felt for some reason in my mind, I remember thinking that Kip was almost like a mirror to him, of the opposite of how his Force abilities were.
I could sort of see that because probably Kip Duran was more powerful in the Force, but didn't know how to control it. Like wasn't skilled in fighting, I guess, as much or whatever. Is probably something like that. Yeah. I guess is probably what you would.
That's what I was thinking about. I could be wrong, but anyways, we got to the coolest part of the episode, which was she figured out, how are we going to get to wherever Sabine went? So
look up
Purgles. And she basically kind of does what she does something really like what Ezra did at the end of Rebels, but she calls out to them in the Force. They kind of the biggest one with them responds.
I miss a Legends canon too.
And she parks the ship inside the Purgle's mouth.
Oh yeah.
Which was
that was exactly what I was hoping they would do. I know it was like real Pinocchio of me to think that, but I'm like, I hope they hop in the mouth and take a ride. Because at first I was wondering if they were just going to be on top of the whales and ride them. But no, I'm like, yay, we're actually going to get in this thing's mouth. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was really impressed, though, was that whole sequence. That's one thing I was mentioning. I think I mentioned it before the episode, was like the spectacle of Star Wars, of old classic Star Wars. This one reminded me of that feeling. When you're seeing the Purgles go through, go past the New Republic ships, and how everybody's just in awe of this sight, and the music, the swell of music that was playing is just really, really great stuff. So I love that. And then, there's the jump that happens, and that was where the episode ends.
And so I went back and watched the last episode of Rebels. And man, they have done just a great job at translating animation to live action. I mean, the Purgles look similar. I mean, very, very much the same as they did in animation. Even the jump to hyperspace.
Yeah, I was going to say their jump to hyperspace is just like it. Yeah. Everybody's costumes are pretty dead on, in terms of relating to the cartoons.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that, at the very end when Hera's talking, she's kind of doing this monologue and talking about stuff that happens to them in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That scene where Ahsoka comes back to Lothal to get Sabine, they're fixing to go off on their trip to hunt for
Ezra.
Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that they animated that at the end of Rebels, and that they filmed that in live action for Ahsoka.
Yeah,
it's the same exact. I didn't even realize that till I watched that.
Just some slight alterations to kind of make it fit more of the current arcs that the characters are going to. But I mean,
Sabine's costume looked a little different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but still,
and Ahsoka didn't have her staff. That was my only disappointment, is she didn't have her Gandalf staff.
yeah. But it's like, wow. I mean, they really pay attention, or Filoni really pays attention to this stuff. So I was pretty impressed. But I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, you're good.
Well,
man.
you're good.
Because it jumped into probably hands down, I think, best episode yet of the season.
Yeah, I would say even compared with episode 6, which was phenomenal. I did love episode 6 too. But for all the story, character arc stuff, episode 5, I think probably I can say with some confidence, I feel like that's still going to probably be my favorite episode of this whole season, just because of all the character beats that were hit so well for getting Ahsoka from one place, one spot to another, and in terms of herself. I thought that was just so beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the Star Wars scorecard from last episode, I was totally wrong about Anakin. Yeah, he's not coming back. He's not coming back.
Well, I remember the other people. There was the theory is that it's not Anakin Skywalker. Like they're thinking it's going to be something else, like some trick. It's the Emperor again.
Yeah.
But we'll jump ahead to episode 6, which. Let's lead to the title of 6, because that plays into the cold opening, which starts with the only scene in the entire episode where we see Ahsoka. It's her and Huang sitting in the Purgle's mouth still. We can see the hyperspace light kind of going through the little broom teeth.
Yeah,
whatever you call those things for whales.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just thinking about. She kind of remembers that. A worrying thing that she didn't tell Hera was that Sabine went willingly with them because she wanted to find Ezra, and she's a little concerned about the selfishness of that aspect. And Wang, he kind of actually devil's advocates her and tells her like, maybe that's what the Force told her to do, was that she needed to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving Ahsoka to think, all right, you shut up and tell me a story.
Yeah.
Which I love, because he started the episode talking about Purgles and I think the connection with the Jedi of the old, like the first Jedi, and how I think navigators and the Purgles kind of work in tandem almost in mapping out the hyperspace routes. But then she asked him to just tell her an old story. And he does the line, which I love that it fits in the moment because of their destination kind of makes their home far, far away, because he says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And that's the name of the episode was Far, Far Away.
Yeah, wasn't it like the history? Wasn't it called like the history of the galaxies or galaxy parts 1? It was like parts 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I'd prefer the first part, which was her. If you think about it, it's like, I was like, it must be a referencing like prequels, original trilogy and sequel trilogy. And obviously Ahsoka would prefer the prequels because that was like her era or something like that. Unless you it could also
like in a meta sense.
Yeah, or it was to me, it was like a meta, either that or it was almost a shout out saying number 1 was original trilogy, and she was playing the voice of a fan saying that I prefer the originals. You know? But him saying or David Tennant getting to say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That was really cool. I had a big old smile on my face for that.
I like that they actually found a way to make it fit the context of the moment without it coming off too cheesy, because it could have been so easy for someone to just look for a way to like jam that line into a movie somewhere. I like that nobody ever tried it, and then it almost seemed like this serendipitous moment came, and Dave was like, "Yeah, this could be the moment.
Yep,
This could be the moment. I could say it. I can say it. We're not in the galaxy anymore. It's far, far away."
Yeah. I'm going to be very upset if they kill him off.
Huang.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If they destroy him at the end of this, or at any point during the series, I think that guy.
They need not to, because we always seem to, when we get new droids, except for like Chopper. I think. I mean, I'm sure we can keep going with examples, but seems like I get a good majority of new droids get destroyed when they're introduced.
I don't know. BD1's still kicking too.
That's right,
Yeah.
BD1. Yeah.
Dio. Well, what's his name? What's the little tiny droid that was in episode
Dio.
9? Dio.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dio.
It sounds like a European band.
All right,
he's
all right.
He's the only thing left
Don't hit
that
me.
really has like a history of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Luke's talked to him at all.
Yeah, I guess my assumption would be here in a timeline of how long she's had him. My guess, unless Dave establishes it earlier, is that maybe at some point between her hanging out with Luke on his planet, maybe at some point between then and the beginning of the the events of Ahsoka, because we never see any ship that she's in. So I'm kind of feeling that at some point she acquired that stuff. Either that or she just kept into herself. Maybe she did introduce him to Luke and we never saw because it wasn't relevant to the story at the time. And maybe Luke just wasn't interested in him because maybe he in his mind he was thinking, I need to do this my own
differently
way. Because that was the problem the first time. And although that goes sideways again.
There we go.
But then we jump after we get the title credits, bye Ahsoka for the episode, and we are back with Balin, Morgan, Shin, Hati, and Sabine. Still heading through hyperspace, about to exit. And then they come out on a planet, which mind-blowing new lore stuff jumps in because we find out the Dathomir witches are not they're not native to the Star Wars galaxy.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, the Dathomirian people, they originate from the planet that they end up at. Which was really cool. And and it kind of speaks to the idea of like why their version of the Force, their magic, their Night Sister magic, why it looks different, why it works differently than the Force does, which is really cool to find out. But they go and they land on the planet Peridia, and we see who we greeted by the Great Mothers. I think that's who we come across first, right?
Yeah. But we also learned that the Purgles.
Oh yeah. They go to that planet to die.
Ring around the planet.
It's almost like it's like a boneyard of a bone ring.
Yep. It's crazy.
Simba, don't go there.
Yeah.
Space Simba. So they go to the planet. We find more live action Night Sisters, and I believe these characters have shown up in Clone, or not these specific ones, but Night Sisters more along these lines in terms of aesthetic looks.
Yeah,
they've shown up in Clone Wars, I believe. Correct?
I guess similar, but when they did say what Great Mother or something, what did they call her?
Yeah, they're called the Great Mothers. They kind of remind me of the Three Fates, actually, from Greek mythology.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Mother, what was her name? Talzin?
Mother Talzin. Yeah.
What did they call her Great Mother at any point? It just sounded familiar.
I was going to say at first I was wondering if she was a Great Mother, but it might have just been Mother Talzin. I can look it up though.
But I was just thinking more of like the only Night Sister we'd seen in live action to this point was Morgan Elsbeth. So it was interesting to see kind of more traditional looking Dathomir witches. Yeah, with how the design of them originated from the Clone Wars and how they look in live action. So I thought that was really cool.
She was a clan mother, so she's not like a grandmother, but she was a clan mother.
Okay.
Talzin.
Okay.
So they land and they all kind of get reacquainted. And everybody, even the audience, is asking, okay, we've seen them. Where's the big guy at?
Well, too. Before that, though,
Oh, yeah.
they take Sabine out
Mhm.
to solitary confinement, but it's because the Dathomir Great Mothers, or what, or just the Great Mothers, or whatever you call them, they specifically identify her as a Jedi.
Oh, they. What was it because of? Well, no, she didn't have it with
They
her
sensed
yet.
it. I mean,
Yeah,
they're little
Yeah, they just
balls.
sensed
Yeah,
it.
you're
They
right.
they
You're right.
smelled the Jedi on
You're
her.
right,
Yeah.
They
Which brings me back to she has no force power abilities, so anybody could be a Jedi with the right training. But never
Mhm.
mind.
Well, no, I think
let's
she
continue
has
on.
that's why I'm thinking she has the Force in her, like a real, like a Jedi, not like a normal. Like her midi-chlorian count is high.
Or low. It's higher, but on the lower high scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's on the spectrum,
You barely
Force
register as
spectrum.
one, but you register.
pretty much.
You have to go to remedial Jedi school.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a remedial Jedi.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I mean, but no, they do sense it in her and send her away. And I mean, obviously
we can't have that filth around here.
Mhm.
Them jetties.
but they didn't sense goodness or whatever in Balin or Shin. So I guess they are bad. they
that
didn't
is
go
weird.
all on them. So
I was surprised at that. I was like, why didn't they sense anything with them? I mean, because I was thinking it's not just
or at least
necessarily
sense any.
Jedi, but like force power. That's the way I
Right.
took it. And I
I'm
was like,
surprised there wasn't any tenseness between them. Like they
Yeah.
showed that, since they were already familiar, I'm surprised there wasn't like some shots of them kind of looking at each other, just like, keep your place.
My guess would be that they had time to prepare themselves, I guess, in headspace, because Morgan had been communicating with them about who would all be coming, because the only thing they were surprised about was Sabine being there, because she wasn't part of their planned, people who were arriving. So
yeah, while they're waiting, I think Balin also talks to Shin about kind of like his plan, or what he kind of gives the idea of what he's thinking.
Which, and I like that, because it speaks to it puts him on a parallel that kind of reminds me a little bit of or a mirror of Obi-Wan, of a disillusioned Jedi, of what happened to the Order, how they fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
But in another direction than Obi-Wan found more peace, within the Force, and it looks like Balin is still struggling, even though he understood what went wrong with the Jedi, and he has no intention to go back to them.
But I also think it set up Balin as the ultimate big bad for the series.
I have and here's
at least for this series, because Thrawn is going to continue on.
Thrawn is
I could see Balin being like the big bad. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I do that. I don't know if I believe that yet. Here's my theory of how the story beats are playing out so far with Shin. He has a lot of emotional attachment to Shin, I think. Like, it makes me really think of like a father-daughter relationship. And he's very obsessed with this idea of a new beginning, wanting to start clean. It almost seems like he wants to cleanse himself of who he was before. I feel like he's gonna find. I don't know if I'm thinking classic Star Wars story beats. An opportunity is gonna present itself to where he can see a new beginning for Shin, but it doesn't include himself, as in like he's gonna have to sacrifice himself, but he knows that it's gonna be in service of her having a second chance and a new beginning of her own. That for me, that feels like a classic Star Wars move that Filoni might make, because of the emotional payoff of it and the arcs of the characters involved. But that's just.
I still want to know, though, how exactly he intends to break the cycle. You know what I mean? Like what's the grand plan? Are they gonna try to start the Jedi Order over on this new planet?
It's the grand plan of every adult. I got problems. My best way to handle him is to move to a new state.
No, it's like, know how to solve it? Real estate. Lex Luthor, real estate.
The one thing they aren't making any more of.
Real estate.
But I'm trying to figure out, like, what is this huge power that is on this planet that
Well, that was something ominous that I was curious
Yeah.
about, because he did mention that at the end, that there was something going on that he felt, that it sounded like it maybe wasn't connected with the Night Sister, something more cosmic. That's what I was.
And he acts like it was
of.
calling to him.
Yeah. I'm guessing we're going to find out because we got 2 episodes left. I think I have a feeling whatever that is, that's going to be revealed in the next episode, because everything's got to culminate.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to culminate in the next episode and then pay off in episode 8.
Or it could be cliffhanger time.
I hope not.
Yeah, I kind of hope they do wrap. I kind of hope
in the middle of a
season.
strike, the last thing I want right now is a cliffhanger.
And in 2029, we get the second season.
2029. That's generous. I'm thinking more like 2036.
They're still on strike.
The bones of Bob Iger just sitting in there with piles of money around him. He's got a note written in front of him saying, like, I still got my money.
Don't give in.
But no, I mean, after all that, though, I feel like Dave Filoni basically is like, all right, everybody. He just calls, he pulls the trumpet, and it's like, da, 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 da. Everybody come to your seats, sit down, recline, get your sodas, your popcorns, and prepare yourself. And then
I'm introducing the turtles.
Next?
Well, speaking of preparing ourselves in the popcorn, we got the big entrance that a lot of people have been waiting for with the.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Which is,
I was thinking the other one.
Well, first off, we see the ship return.
My God,
the Chimera.
The Chimera.
Because the last time we saw it was being squeezed like a crushed can of Coke by the Purgles, and I love that we see the damage on it, and I loved that. And
it still had the beautiful designs underneath, whatever those dragon things are under it.
And it had to be patched up. But did you notice the gold again?
Yeah,
I've noticed that motif of whatever's been broken, they've been fixing with what looks like some kind of gold alloy.
He loves gold.
The
gold. Oh my God! But the reveal, whenever you see the ship, I squealed. I loved it because I mean, it's the Chimera, I mean, from the original books, that was his ship, I mean, it just was lacking Pelion in there.
I also love that they the whole little plateau thing that they were on fit perfectly for the ship to kind of land on as a landing to go meet with. It's like, I just wonder about the planning for that when that was, anytime you need me.
So there's somebody down there like this to like
will be where we land.
Yeah, somebody's in there in this
perfectly space wise.
Whoa! Wait!
Too much.
The big dramatic, of it settling onto the, lining up with the plateau, and then we don't see him right yet. We see obscured shots of him approaching, but what we do see are these gnarly new looks of stormtroopers, and I feel like there's way more to them what we see right now. But if you notice, like, they're all wrapped up in like red ribbons. The
red ribbon, and
they're cracked, and if they're damaged enough, there's gold. You'll see gold patching on it, and
then you see the commander.
And this was a cool shout out for me because it was an actor I'd been wondering about. So this is Wes Chatham that plays this character, Enoch. Wes Chatham, if you watch other sci-fi shows, you might have, if you've seen The Expanse, he stars in that, and he's fantastic in that. So I was excited to find out that, I mean, I know people were hoping it might be Eli Vanto or something, but this is really cool because you feel his presence. It's very intimidating. So I was really excited at that look, and that's a Black Series figure right there.
Yeah, it's almost like a Roman gladiator mask incorporated into a stormtrooper helmet. Then you've got the voice modulation to make it even scarier. Yeah, and then you've got all those stormtroopers being in perfect syncopation with the creepiest score and that chant. I hope it's part of the score. Like if they release this, I hope it's part of it so you hear it in the score, because that'll be awesome. Because I wonder if they're almost saying like speaking cheese like some of the, because they're saying other words too. It sounded like, and I was wondering if they're speaking it in the native Chiese or something.
Oh yeah.
Like a single word, like certain words, like Thrawn, something Thrawn. It's just it was, oh my God, it was creepy.
It's like in basic, it translates to Thrawn kick butt, Thrawn kick butt, Thrawn.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
But what's cool is
Thrawn is daddy.
Yeah. So they don't say it. You don't actually see them referred to it, I believe. But if you have subtitles on, you will see that those troopers are classified as night troopers.
Night troopers,
which is interesting because I mentioned something to Austin about this. Because there's some other context clues also later on in the episode. I feel like there's Night Sister stuff involved with whatever state that they're in. And I also thought that maybe if we go back a couple episodes, Marok might have been a foreshadowing into whatever has happened to these people.
Yeah.
Right.
When I saw the red and just the broken armor, the red, it's
kind of cultish look, the cultish,
and they're on they're on the Night Sister planet.
Yeah.
So it's plausible.
Yeah, these are brought back from the dead, people.
Reanimated. Yeah,
at least to help him get back, until he can get back home to get more troops.
So the best thing about reanimated troopers, you don't have to feed them.
Man, guys, what was y'all's reactions of the Thrawn reveal? Because I mean, really, I couldn't have been happier. It was one of the best. I mean, obviously, it was one of the best reveals in the Star Wars series they've done in TV series. I mean, it's just obviously they've been building for this, and oh my God,
I was thoroughly satisfied. And what gets me annoyed is because there's this expectation I've noticed with Star Wars fans, because Star Wars fans are apparently the hardest people in the universe to please.
Meet Star Trek
because well, here's something like they get so annoyed if something doesn't match up to something that was originated in animation. Like they still can't get over Rosario's Ahsoka not looking exactly like she did in Rebels. Her montrails aren't high enough yet. They're not long enough yet. So same thing.
And they don't think about the fact that Rebels has got a very stylized look to it to model Ralph McQuarrie. So everything's going to look ridiculous.
So I noticed online, same thing happened with Thrawn, because the Lars doesn't happen to look exactly like the design of Thrawn from Rebels.
He looks pretty dang close, because he's got the brow. He's got kind of like the sharpened cheeks. If you really look, he has his cheeks are sharpened, and it looks like they've actually given him a little bit of a prosthesis here to give his chin, I think, just a little bit of a pointedness here. But I noticed something here in the makeup, and it looks like they're almost like giving him lizard cat-like points and qualities in his eyes and in his facial features.
But the second he speaks, it was great. Lars hasn't missed a beat since he last recorded on Rebels, so I thought that was fantastic.
And he was talking like he was going to be a little like it sounded like he might be a little different or something.
It does. It's a little different. Go back and watch Rebels.
I did. I just watched it. It's a tad, but for the most part, it's pretty dang faithful. Like it's just enhanced. Like he's able to, able to move around in the world with it.
One of my favorite moments I noticed in the last episode with him, which is a little tiny nuance moment, was when Morgan mentions Sabine Wren-Tube, and you see him kind of do a little look over at him, and you see that look of familiarity, and he says, "Now there's a familiar name." I don't know, something about that, his delivery of that, and the little mannerisms he had. I really loved the subtleness, and I can see why.
Especially when Ahsoka's on the way. When he finds out Ahsoka's on the way, and he has this, I think he was in that scene, because there's one where he actually has this look of kind of contempt, or just like, he's just like annoyed, like, really? You introduced this puzzle. I mean, even though he was like he could deal with it, it's just you see Thrawn go, really?
Well,
and he has this
I love
I was
his.
gonna say he had this lizard look to him that I thought was creepy.
Yeah, well, I love that he has a his history with Jedi was don't ever assume that they're dead unless
Yeah.
you like it, unless you've got their body laid up in front of you and you've burned it. It's not you don't ever like. I love that he told us like until you can confirm it, you work under the assumption that she's alive. Like,
And you know what else I got hope for is that we see Anakin again, because he did ask Thrawn asked what's her face
to look
Morgan,
up her history because
look
it
up her
didn't sound
history.
like he was familiar with her history. So
Yeah.
that if there's an actual conversation type confrontation where they can speak, I wouldn't be surprised if if Anakin maybe got brought up as a way to kind of mess with her, see if he can throw her off.
But
And he
I'm
also
saying, like,
asked for her
coming
art,
back.
and he
Oh,
also
yeah.
wanted to know her information about her people too, which means he's
Yeah.
going to obviously study art of the
Yeah.
Jakarta art. So that's gonna. I mean, yeah, he's about to be a handful for her.
And
Yeah.
well, I guess let's jump away from that real quick because we got another part of it, which was Sabine. He keeps Balin's word of they let her go because she wants to go find Ezra. And me and my wife were thinking, they're being sensible because it kind of makes sense because it's not like she can call for help. She's got no one she can call to come pick her up. It's not like she can be too much of a threat against them. So they send her off with her lightsaber and a little dog,
It's like a howler.
creature. A howler,
Yeah, a howler.
what they call her. My wife said it looked like our dog.
Send her off because I mean, well, to me it was obvious. Even my wife was like, "Wow, they're just giving her." I'm like, think about it. She's gonna find Ezra. She is going to find him. Why not just let her find him? Make it easy. Track her. Kill them both.
And then that's what it turned out to be. But it looked like Balin was. No. Shin wasn't aware of that, was she? Was that who was that was thrown off by them going back on their deal with her? Because somebody was surprised.
Well, it was Shin because
it was Shin.
Balin, yeah,
so
because
Balin was in on the deal that he was going to be hunting her down still.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes off in search. She runs into some bandits. She and blah blah blah. She finds some hermit crab people, which I thought were great.
Yeah, those were cool. They were very cool.
There's a really cool little design for them.
I called them. I looked at them. I'm like, man, they're like Teenage Mutant Ninja snails. I loved it, and that was great because she she defended that one from from the bandits or whatever, and then finds the home, the camp.
And then, and which is really cool. It's almost like a little they're like a nomadic community because you find out sooner or later in the scene, but she finds the person the last person we've been waiting to see. Finally, confirmation that they're alive and they survived. We see Ezra. Ezra Bridger pops up, full beard.
Jesus,
he's still got I love the detail because I didn't notice it the first time. He's still got the cheek scratches.
He does.
The scars from his skirmish with the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, I totally was not expecting him to pop up so soon in the episodes.
I loved it. He seemed like he had a little bit of a hippie thing going.
Yeah,
I dug it.
He was just like, I'm living good. I'm doing all right. These people
ready
are cool.
to go home.
Listen, he used to live by himself on Lothal, man.
Yeah.
He's got his own version of Ewoks. He's got his ninja snails, and
I could see Sabine telling him. I could see Sabine telling him, we can't get home, and he just goes, "We'll find a way there. Don't worry. What happened?
Yeah, just sit back, take it easy,
just chill." And I think they're called the naughty,
the naughty or noti or something like
yeah. NOTI, I believe, or is it 2 T's or 1 T?
No, just 1 T.
Okay, but I guess he's been living with them for a bit. I don't know how long, because we don't get much context of what happened. All we know is at some point Ezra separated from Thrawn. We don't know if there was ever any copaceticness between them, like if they ever had to work together when they first arrived to survive or anything like that. All we know is that at some point Thrawn wants Ezra dead again because he's pissed with him, and Ezra's off living with some nomadic people, and he knows their language. And I love that it's a callback to kind of how he was with Rebels. You know, he's very kind of in tune with the nature side of the Force. You know, so I did love that he kind of found it very. It looks like he adapted very easily to living alongside these people.
I want to see him reunited with his loft cat. I really do.
Yeah. and I'm hoping, I'm hoping that it has a good, happy-ish ending, where Ezra can make it back, because I would love to see a big Rebels reunion. I'd love to see Hera see, someone she almost considered a surrogate son herself, just for those moments. But yeah, and we kind of end it about or around there,
Yeah, because it was like right after that, I think, is when you learn about Ahsoka coming. Thrawn basically orders all the information on her and everything, and then boom, we end there.
Cut the credits. Yep.
Yeah. So like I said, Thrawn, once he gets this information, he's gonna figure it out.
I saw
he's
somebody
gonna know when she farts. He's gonna know everything.
I saw somebody mention that apparently, I think in one of the Thrawn Dazan new books, apparently, like, they're wondering, like, shouldn't he know that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan, because I think maybe the information might have came by in that book at some point by him, like mentioned to him.
He encounters Anakin, like they do encounter each other, but he doesn't meet Ahsoka.
Okay,
so he doesn't know Ahsoka yet. He might be aware of her, but it was, I think, also still kind of early on in the Clone Wars, anyways, when Thrawn encounters Anakin. But what he does learn is the fact, it was like interesting that Anakin's name is Skywalker in the Chiefs world, and they're on their side of the galaxy, when they're traveling through hyperspace, which you're saying was kind of similar to the Jedi and Purgle, is like they had their own guides through hyperspace,
the Force sensitive people,
and there were these Force sensitive, and they was children. They would only use them up to a certain point, but they were always children, and they're called Skywalkers.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And
I think and I believe that those books, they implied that he was aware. He was one of the few people was aware that Anakin became Vader, but he never knew, he never told anybody, because obviously that was a very dangerous information to have.
Yeah, I'm currently going back through them, so I'll let you know, but I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I'm on book 2 of the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, and then I'll roll over into the regular, like the Thrawn series when he's in the Empire.
Because it would be funny, just for a little, like, snappy line, a little quip moment, if, he tries to bring up, do you know what became of Anakin Skywalker? It's like, does everybody know that he became Vader at this point?
Right. Pretty much. It's like it's in the National Enquirer at this point. They're all these different, like, I'm a secret baby mama of Anakin Skywalker, of Darth Vader,
Ahsoka Tano, do you know what became of Anakin Skywalker?
Yes,
are we still talking about that?
I've come to terms with it. I'm Ahsoka the White now.
I don't.
Yeah.
Look, what? Who?
Yeah,
he's looking over there. It's like, who are you talking to? But yeah, that was episode 6. So we got 2 episodes left. I have been beyond satisfied with this series. This is fantastic.
Yep, this is my favorite. I mean, I don't know. Mandalorian's great. So it kickstarted everything, but this has so far been working out to be everything I've wanted out of a Star Wars.
Okay,
series.
I'll say this, because they all operate on different storytelling styles. So and I love each one because of those certain styles. Because Mandalorian has been very much Western with some samurai influence. Samurai Cup type stuff. Boba Fett was trying to be kind of like gangster crime stuff, a little Godfather. So I remember John saying he was kind of trying to go for that.
It was like Western Godfather. It's like Western
Godfather. Yeah. And this, Andor was kind of like, very much political spy thriller. And this feels much more like we're going back. This is operatic, big storytelling, this is, big moments, big character stuff. It's
but with
like
heavy
that.
Samurai influences.
Yeah, very samurai. Yeah.
Like samurai space opera.
Yeah.
Like with Star Wars invented.
Yeah.
Like this is, Yeah, I totally see
This
that.
is So this is much more in line with that classic storytelling style, which I love. And that's why that's why I kind of love each series in its own way. I can't
Oh
really.
yeah,
I hate trying to compare them. I don't want to compare them with each other because
right. I mean, there's
they're all great
definitely
in their own way.
weaker. Yeah, I was going to say there may be, depending on your likes and dislikes. I mean,
Yeah.
some may be weaker than others, but for the most part, yeah, I enjoy all the series in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that does it for us.
Yeah, at
do we want
at
to
least
do
for
any?
at least for the episodes.
Yeah, do we have any toy hauls real quick? I got one thing I can show if y'all want to see it.
Yeah,
go
man,
ahead.
go ahead. I haven't gotten to pick up anything yet.
So this decided to come an entire month early because I wasn't expecting this until October. But I got Darth Malgus.
Oh man, Malgus
from the Old Republic.
Nice. I was going to say the Old Republic game.
Big hefty character.
Good God, yeah, he is big.
And actually, the breather piece on him is separate. It does come off. I would show you, but it involves like popping the head entirely off. But he does have a face underneath. Mm-hmm. It's really cool looking. I can show a picture of it later. But yeah, that's my haul, my unexpected haul.
Austin, haul?
None for me. What about you?
Actually, I do have a haul.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, I'll show it right quick. So I went back and I bought the full set. I'm trying to go back and get some of these Toy Biz figs, So I got this. I can't remember if this is the first. This might be the second series of Fantastic Four figures. So Psycho Man. Hang on. Medusa. Fantastic Four. This must have been the bad guy wave. The Wizard. Cool figure. Figure I had is a teenager. The Thing. I love that costume.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome.
And then finally, Johnny Storm, Human Torch, mid transformation.
It's a very specific figure style to get.
Yeah. Mid transformation Johnny Storm.
And you know what? I was wrong. I did pick up something. I forgot. I did find this in stores. They've been putting out more Hot Wheels vehicles from the Batman series.
Yep.
And I see they've got the Bats. Was it the Bat Cycle or whatever from Batman and Robin? It was the motorcycle that they drove at the end with the two blades on the back and all that. But I saw this and snagged it. And Ashley, you remember we saw something similar.
Oh yeah.
Now I will say the wings, like this part, if you look, it's plastic. Yeah. So it's not die cast. It's just the middle part here. This middle piece is kind of metal and die cast, but a lot of plastic on it. And it came with. I didn't even realize when I bought it, so I thought it was just the ship, but it actually came with this stand. So you get a little. Yeah. If you look, it's got the Batman shield on the stand.
That's cool.
Yeah, and here you can see the cockpit actually opens up.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, this is actually a really neat buy. I mean, they're bumping these up. I mean, this is almost $10 for this thing now. But
what?
Yeah, they're like $9.90 something in stores for these the Hot Wheel line. But yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, I want to see more vehicles and stuff from the movies. Like I haven't seen a Batmobile yet, the Batman and Robin Batmobile. So I do want to find that.
The convertible Batmobile.
Yeah, the convertible Batmobile, and I would like to have the Bat Cycle, like the Robin's Bat Cycle that he rides through the movie. I would like to get that.
The Batman has a shut off for.
Yeah, he has a kill switch.
Almost kill him.
Yeah.
You better be glad you stopped. But anyway,
hey, Robin, he's just like all the time honking. He's like, "Hey, Robin, you want to race?" And then he drives off. Anyways,
Star Wars, we're eating good with Star Wars. I've noticed this year we've had some really good Star Wars stuff. Well, I mean, at least from my perspective, I've really enjoyed all the stuff between
in the game.
Yeah, this Jedi Survivor, Mandalorian. I enjoyed Mandalorian season 3. Andor wasn't this year, was it? God, was it this year or was it last year?
It was, I thought it was last year.
Yeah. Okay, it might have been last year. God, time flies. Anyways, we're still doing good with Star Wars stuff. I'm loving it. All right.
Yep.
I guess until next time. We'll see you
Yep.
for
Just
episode
kidding.
7 or maybe 7 and 8, depending on if anything happens next Thursday.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we're good.
Then
I'm good.
We'll just talk about the episode the whole hour then.
Yep. And more toys.
Yes.
Get around to some toys.
Later.
Goodbye, y'all.
Later days.
Bye.